Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timikes and James. Sorry about my face. I'm letting it breathe a little, so I'm staying away from makeup these days. So for our new subscribers, you're welcome, and for the old bees, you're also welcome. Today we are going to be coupling or joining or sewing our jumpsuits. That's what we're going to be learning today. You know, in the previous video I showed you how to cut a jumpsuit, so today we'll be joining that together. So it's quite simple. As long as you watch and you pay close attention and you watch to the end, it's simple. So here we have our panels, our front panel, our back panel. These are for the upper part of the bodies, and here is the pants panel, which is the down part of it, the front of the pants and the back of the pants. So now we're just going to be inserting our darts. So you remember we had a side dart, so I'm just going to be folding that. I snipped on my dart point. I just went ahead to snip it so that I can know where the side on the other side is, and I marked this little mark here just for me to know where the dart is going to end. So let's just go into the sewing proper. So now I'm just going ahead to put on my machine, then I'll begin to sew along my dart line up to the point. So if you stop like this, I'll double stitch on that point so that it doesn't rip off. Do the second side of the dart. Remember, our dart is ½ inch on both sides, so it's going to be a total of 1 inch. Just going straight in because of the sewing allowance before I begin to slant my darts. So here we go, we have our side darts, you can see. So this is beautiful. I usually prefer these darts to the waist to bust dart. So at the back side, I'm just going to be inserting the waist to bust dart. So that's the dart that I prefer at the back side of the fabric. So just going to be sewing that all up. Get my tape. Mark my dart length. I usually prefer 9 inches up. So that's just what I'm going to be marking. Cut out any excess thread that you have. As you're sewing, because of this fabric, you remember I told you the fabric is stretchy, so you make sure you're not stretching the fabric again, because that would make the fabric to rumple in a way that you might not like. So as you're sewing, you ensure you're just going straight without stretching the fabric or anything, or trying to pull it or push it. So it's very tacky working with stretch material, so you have to be very careful doing that. If you pull it a little, you will not like the outcome, because it will create some folds that you don't like. So here I've inserted our back darts. So now I'm going to join the front panel to the back panel. I'm going to be adding a turtleneck to this neckline. That's why I'm not having an interfacing or a facing material to turn it over. So I'm just going to be joining the side pieces together. You can see, if you look very well, at the back side we cut it 16.5 inch, the front we made it 17.5 inch, but when we took these darts, you can see they all align. The front and the back piece in length now they've aligned because of that side dart that I took. So you see, this is it. So that's the magic of sewing this type of darts. So you remember our seam allowances was 1 inch, so I'm just going to go ahead and take that 1 inch all through to the down side I'll just mark my 1 inch so that I can see it again. Back stitch towards the end of the seam. Cut out any excess thread that you have so your work can come out neat and perfect. Just going to go ahead and put this aside, then I'll join the other side of the note. I'm joining this right side facing right side and wrong side facing wrong side. I actually put that chalk mark on the right side for a reason, so you can do yours on the wrong side actually. So taking 1 inch on both sides. Mark my 1 inch so I can take extra. So here we have the front pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and join the shoulder line together. I'm using about 1/4 seam allowance. Make sure everything aligns. Join the other shoulder. Remember that seam allowance we left there, that's what you're going to be using for this joining. So it's not up to 1/2 inch, it's about 1/4 inch or about 1 centimeter or more. So that's what you're going to be using. Cut out any excess thread, make sure you take it out so that your job can come out neat. So this is the front piece. This is our front piece put together. You can see it's already lovely. So I'm just going to go and lightly press it open press it and press this iron side. Then I'll join the down. I'll show you how to join the downside and how to connect both of them together. So for the front piece, the zip is going to be at the back side of the fabric, so I'm going to be closing this front side. So for the front side, you remember that 1/2 inch allowance we left here for joining the front and the two fronts together. I'm just going to use that allowance. Make sure everything aligns. Any little mistake on your pants can give you a hell lot of trouble. So when I get to this point, I'm just going to take that cuff nicely. Then I'm not going to be sewing to the end here, so I'm just going to be leaving about 1 inch open. I would later join that together, but for now I'll just leave it open because we are going to be joining the crotch of the back. So I'm just going to be, I'll be joining the back side and the front piece together like so. The side seam with the side seam. Make sure everything aligns, the knee point aligns, the hip line aligns. Then I'm joining with 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Do not take more than 1/2 inch, and you make sure your edges align. And remember, this fabric is stretchy. If you're using a stretchy material, you make sure you don't drag it or anything. I'm going to sew that up to the hemline with that same 1/2 inch. Make sure your knee line aligns. Just make sure your knee aligns. Make sure everything is in alignment. That's very important, and You can never overemphasize the importance of that. Whenever you do this, if you make a jumpsuit or a pant or anything like that, for you to have a neat finish after ironing, when you're serging or when you're interlocking, you make sure you interlock the seams open. You don't interlock them, you don't overlock them, sorry, I said interlock. You don't overlock them closed. You make sure you overlock them open. So always remember that. So in case you're not the one overlocking your garments, you tell whoever is doing that for you to do it open. So I've done that to the hem, then I'll flip it over to do the other side. So I'll just join the other side pieces together. Using that 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I love sewing elastic fabric because they are really easy, no stress. It's just to ensure that they align. And if your sewing machine is not sewing a stretch fabric, the trick is you can place a piece of paper on your seam line, then you sew on this piece of paper. That's a trick that I'm giving you for free. You know I always give free tricks on my channel. So you place a piece of paper and you sew that. If your machine can't sew a stretch fabric or lacquer or something, that's how you sew it, with a piece of paper. Some people say you can rub in some chalk there and it will work, but I don't think so. So here we go. We have our front and our back pieces put together like this, so in form of a wrap. I'm going to double check the waistline if I have everything correct. Then I'll just double check my waist. So it's correct. My waist point is 25. So I have about 4 inches, which means I'm going to still trim off some of that because I just need 2 inches for my zip allowance. So when I join the front and the back, so I'm going to bring the front piece to join it with the back piece together. So here we have our front piece. I'm going to match the center piece. I just looked for the center part of the front piece and I snipped it so I can know. So I'm just going to align that snipped point. Then you make sure all the side seams align. Then I'm just going to be sewing like that, ensuring that all the side seams, so I'll make sure everything aligns. Then I'll use 1/2 inch. If you're a beginner, you can go ahead and pin them down. flip to sew the other end. Take out any excess thread. And also ensuring that you're sewing your seam allowance is open. Let them not both face the same direction. So you raise your foot and double check that. That stitch, when you get to the end of the point, then you take out any excess thread. Those are the things that make your work look rough. So here we have it. I'm just going to close the back side now. So on the back piece, on the lower part, I'll align the middle side, which is the middle seam here that joins the up and the down. Then I'll take 8 inches or 7 inches from this point. You can do 7, 8 depending on how long you want your zip. So I'll just take 7.5, give it a good snip. Then using 1 inch sewing allowance, I'm just going to align everything together from that point where I snipped. Just going to be using about an inch sewing allowance. I'm using 1 inch because I discovered that zip allowance that I left was much. But you can still use half an inch if yours aligned. Join the crouch line, everything, you make sure they are aligned. And I'm going to leave about 1 inch at the extreme here to join the front and the back first before I close that up. Cut out any excess thread. That's very important. So now I'm going to join the leg side. So I'm opening it up like this. I'll be joining these 2 legs together. Making sure it aligns. So using half an inch sewing allowance, I'm going to be joining one of the front side and the back side together using half an inch sewing allowance because we left half an inch sewing allowance. Make sure, that's why we left this 1 inch here, so that you can be able to join this together before you close that up. Stitch at the end of every seam. Then I'm just going to flip, cut out excess thread, then you sew the other side. half an inch sewing allowance. Out of bobbin thread, so I'm just going to go ahead and refill. I usually fill bobbin threads enough to sew a dress before I start sewing, so I'm just going to go ahead and refill, then I'll come back and cut out this excess thread. Then these crouch points, these middle points that you have open here, you just hold the front and the back piece like this. You see this point where we have open, this point here at the crouch line, so we'll just close that up. So you make sure all the seams are open, we don't close them closed. Make sure they are open, then you stitch, back stitch, close it up, then you back stitch again. So this point that he has here, you just cut that off. So here we go, we've closed it up. So our jumpsuit is almost ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert a zipper now. So here you have it. Here you have it. Here's the leg point. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert a zipper on it.